to debate against the bill.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just to follow up on some of the remarks made by the gentleman from District 21, the rules that BYU Idaho has are based on behavior, not belief, not who you are as a person. There's a big difference there. And that's consistent with the founding fathers and how they felt. They didn't believe that you should be able to be discriminated against because of what you believe. They felt it was very important that you could express those beliefs, even if they were different than others. I think it's really important to think about history sometimes and to provide context for why we do what we do, here in Idaho. When people came to this state, they arrived with what little they could bring by train or by cart, and it wasn't much. But they brought with them hope and grit. They brought with them an enthusiasm for the future and a belief that they could make a better life for themselves and their family. They realized they couldn't do this alone. When my great-grandpa Ruchti and his wife Mabel tried to dry farm, when they first got to Idaho, tried to dry farm just outside of McCammon, they failed miserably. And in that first winter, they would have starved to death were it not for the Tippett's family, who had a local store, and they provided them enough to get them through the winter. And the very next spring, my great-grandfather got a job at the railroad in Pocatello, and that's where they remained. They needed help, and help arrived. When people first arrived in this state, they pooled their resources. They couldn't afford to educate their kids on their own, and so they came up with a social compact. I will pay taxes so that you can educate your child or your children, and that will be good for our community. And you pay taxes so that my children can get educated, and that'll be good for our community. They pooled their resources. Your family's success is our community's success. My family's success is our community's success. But part of that compact was that there were limitations. You would get a good education, but it would be without frills. And the taxpayer money spent on that education would come with oversight. And that was critical. That was the compact, and that's the agreement that has served this state well since 1890. You can tell that it was an important part of our early days in Idaho by reading the Constitution and seeing how much of the Constitution was focused on education. Article 9, Section 1 and Section 9 are just two examples, but Section 1 is, of course, perhaps the most important. The stability of a Republican form of government depending mainly upon the intelligence of the people, it shall be the duty of the legislature of Idaho to establish and maintain a general, uniform, and thorough system of public, free, common schools. It served our state well. We don't have a perfect school system. We are continually working on it to make it better. But if students and parents are willing to put some time in, put some effort in, put some grit into the process, it can provide a good education. And evidence of that is sitting on this floor. My guess is if we polled, we'd find out that many of the people sitting right here are products of our public education system here in Idaho. Many of our ag leaders are products of our public education system here in Idaho, our political leaders, our university leaders, business leaders. And my money, frankly, is on our public schools in a fair fight. A fair fight. But how do you expect public schools to compete against unregulated private schools that can reject any student for any reason, that don't have attendance requirements, don't have to teach a specific standard, don't have to do background checks on the teachers that teach in their schools. That's not a fair fight. But give me a fair fight, I'll put our public school teachers against anybody. I'll put our education system up against anybody. Instead of taking this voucher approach, let's support our public schools. Let's pay our teachers what they deserve. Let's fix our school facilities so our students are learning in a 21st century environment. If it's taxpayer funded, taxpayers deserve to know how the money is spent. It really is that simple. They need to know when they're required to pay taxes every April that their money is being spent with oversight, that they know what they're getting as an outcome. Private schools under this bill just want public money without the public responsibility that goes along with it. Let's keep our constitutional obligation here. Let's provide that general, uniform, and thorough system of public free common schools, and let's vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Is there further debate?